Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of the show. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle, and today we have with us Nick Vena, who is Regional VP with Purchase Green. Nick, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, just tell us a little bit about your business and what exactly that you guys do for your customers and what makes you a little bit different than the competition.
Sure. What Purchase Green does is the wholesale and retail distribution of artificial grass. And we've been doing this for about 6 years now, based off an opening we saw in the market about 6 years back where artificial grass was becoming more popular with homeowners, but there really wasn't a great way to get the products to the homeowners. And that's where we kind of fit in. We've kind of opened up a second step of distribution in the artificial grass business. And eventually, after a few years, we got into the contract manufacturing side so we could build our own products. And we've been doing that ever since. And at this stage, we've got 15 stores up and down the California coast, also touching into Nevada. And we have about another 30 stores between Arizona and Colorado that carry our products. And then we also drop ship a portion of it through the rest of the U.S.
Neat. So explain a little bit more about what the market need was that you guys recognized, because I think of artificial grass as more of a industrial use for maybe large stadiums or things like that. So at what point did the industry shift to where homeowners would think to put that in? Is it more of like the water conservation aspect?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've actually seen two separate phases. So you're correct. It was much more a commercial or industrial material, something they used in sports stadiums. It became more and more popular. And it was also the type of product that you wouldn't be out of your facilities management and you're looking for turf to cover a certain area. You wouldn't be looking for the product without looking for a solution in installation. And so generally speaking, what you had was factories producing the products, and those factories were then sourcing crews to go out and do the installation. When the homeowners started to enter the market, then they started advancing the technology. It wasn't just for function anymore. As an example, maybe AstroTurf, which is one of the original brands in artificial grass, that concept was it just needed to look like grass on TV. So it was green, but its primary use was for the function of having a surface indoors that wasn't going to get watered. And so when the residential market started to evolve, people were kind of looking past just a functional component, and so they started making advances in the design. And when they made advances in the design, the residential market grew. And for a lot of those projects, people, A, did not have access to someone who knew how to install it, or B, didn't want to hire someone to install it because they felt like they could do it themselves.
Sure.
And that was the need that we met in the market, which was you have all of these different types of grasses. They can be in polyethylene, they can be in polypropylene, they can be mixes of both. They can have curled fibers and straight fibers. They can have all different types of shape. And so it was difficult for someone to just step in and navigate the market and say, how do I pick a product that's right for my application? And that was where we kind of stepped in. And I think to this day, probably one of the most unique things about us is no one will ever walk into a Purchase Green store and ever be encouraged or asked to buy the products. Our approach more is if you walk into our store, we want you to leave feeling like there is no one else who knows more about the industry or the products than us, and that information alone is all that you need to make a decision. And if you make the decision to go with artificial grass, it should be obvious that this is a good place to do it because of the number of grasses that we offer and the information that we can provide regarding each, so you pick the right application for your project.
That's really interesting you would say that. Have you ever heard of the author Chet Holmes and his book, The Ultimate Sales Machine?
I have. I've read it. In fact, when we started, it's interesting that you bring that up. When we started this business in 2009, late 2008, 2009, I actually read that book and used it as an outline for how I began the training for the staff in our very first store, which is how are we going to go about communicating what the products are, what their value is, and make it easy for people to navigate when they have so many different options. And I was reading that book at the time.
I think that's just the groundbreaking concept. Now, these days, people are calling his concepts. It's nothing that he was proprietary. It's just that I think he really pioneered that. And these days, it's called content marketing or things like that. But let's face it, as a consumer, if we come around on the other side of the table, I don't want to walk into a store and have someone pounce on me to go, look at our sale, look at our specials, here's a coupon. I want to understand what I'm getting into, and if you're buying pencils, I know what a pencil does, so maybe I just choose between the blue or the red one. But in your realm and many other businesses and products, you really don't know what you don't know. So when you can understand it as a consumer, the decision then becomes simpler to make, and I really think that becomes a really strong competitive advantage to you. So with that thought in mind, what questions do you get most often from customers when they walk in your door?
I think part of it is from the experience in the store. They walk in a store, they see 30 grasses on the shelves, they see there are all these different prices. So for us, the best way to introduce them, and you'd usually get something to the effect of, hi, I saw your store, or I found you guys online, I'm interested in artificial grass, I really don't know anything about it. In some form or another, that's a super common experience for staff in our stores. Someone walks in, introduces themselves, makes the statement that they're interested, and makes the statement that they don't have any information. And so that was part of how we developed the protocol that we did. And so what we started with was, hey, the easiest way to break this down is you're looking at 30 different products, you're looking at 30 different prices. It's important to understand what's driving that price. And it's really simple. There's only two things that drive the price. Artificial grass is like carpet. It's made on carpet machines. The part of the price is just a function of the quantity of the material, which is why when you buy carpet or artificial grass, one of the primary components you're going to see on the tag is what is the face weight of the material. And so that's pretty straightforward. We'll show them a couple of grasses. Here's one grass in a particular yarn type with a particular construction and a particular backing system. Here is another grass in the same yarn type, same structure, same backing system. It's a different price. And the reason is because one of these weighs 80 ounces per square yard and the other one weighs 60 ounces per square yard. So that part they kind of get right away. Oh, okay, good, nice and simple. I understand that more material costs more. No different than buying a quart of milk or a gallon of milk. And then the other price driver is the type of yarn. And that is important because in artificial grass, it's not really a better yarn or a worse yarn. It's not one processor that's faster than another processor or a hard drive that contains more space than another hard drive. Yarn type is really just the cost of treatment to get a desired result. So I can treat a yarn, which is what the blades of grass are made out of, polyethylene yarn. I can treat it to make it softer. I can treat it to reduce its shine. I can treat it to make it look a certain way, and I can treat it to improve its performance over time under foot traffic. Each of those treatments have a different cost associated with them. So you can have a situation where one yarn treatment costs more than another, but if your preference, for example, is I'd rather have something that's soft than have something that has a cool technology, something that keeps it cooler outdoors under direct sunlight, it just costs less money to make a yarn soft than it does to improve its resistance to UV heat capture. And so we kind of walk them through this entire process, and then usually it's questions. We give them that big breakdown, and then the questions are, tell us all about your project. And that is where I think the real unique corporate culture comes in, which is our slogan, which is kind of something we thought about substantively, which is we're happy, we're helpful, and we're happy to help. And that is the culture we try to push at all the stores. Be happy. You have this information. Everybody's been trained. They know a lot of information about a product that most of the customers don't know a lot about. And so it's nice just for someone to have a pleasant place to arrive to and be greeted by someone who's happy. And we do a lot of things to make sure that our team members are happy and they feel like they're a part of something, that they're contributors and that they're appreciated. And so there is a component about working to make sure that we're happy. Helpful is just we do. That's our job, is to be helpful. It's not to sell. It's not to fulfill orders. It's to be helpful, to impart information that we have about all of these products and make someone else's task of making a decision easier. And we're happy to be helpful. So that is a big part of our corporate culture, and we monitor that very closely, to the degree that we really don't have any sales tactic training company-wide. No one is trained in a persuasive art of selling. Everybody
like how to close. Learn these objections and how to close.
Exactly. Yep.
Because in reality, am I correct in thinking this? It's like automobile dealers. That's a high industry with high competition, and boy, that's got some sales tactics involved. Your industry is such where the more education you are providing them, the more attractive you become. So really the sale closes itself in the sense that if you've answered all the questions and provided all of the concerns, that customers should just naturally say, well, how do we take the next step?
Exactly. No, that is part of the value that we try to put forth. There are nowadays probably 4 companies similar to our size across the country. And so in that sense, there is a competition. To a degree, prices are close, but there are some things you can do in efficiency, and some of it just by volume and size. So in the beginning, our prices were a lot closer to our competitors. And so our whole approach was overall value. Local market distribution, being closer to people, and being informed so that someone could easily get to one of our stores, and then once they got there, could get all the information that they were looking for that was relevant to them. It so happens that over time, as we've continued to add stores and grow our inventory, that we've also been able to offer a logistical value, which is we carry more product and it's all stocked, so you can go to any store and get any product that you want at any given moment. Everybody's fully stocked. There's no special order. And sort of parlaying the success of our size, and now we're at a point where really it's difficult for other folks to compete with us on price. And really it's just it's volume and efficiency. So we run pretty lean operations. When we open a store, it's usually staffed by one, and that person is a flex team member who's fairly decent at managing inventory and warehousing, is fairly decent at being punctual and helpful and good at documentation, pays attention to detail, is self-motivating. And then the one thing is we really don't need someone to be a great salesperson, but we do need someone who's good at learning and understanding the products and good at communicating that. And then from a corporate marketing perspective, we produce a ton of literature. You had mentioned before content-based marketing. We're still a company who probably 80 to 90% of our marketing budget is centered around content creation, which I think is not super common and also pretty new. And if you, even looking at our website, anybody who's in the business of inbound marketing or content marketing, the idea of exchanging information for a top of the funnel lead, as opposed, so not even in a sales funnel, but a top of the funnel, just a research phase approach. They'll see that all over the website. They'll know that it's constructed from the ground up to provide information to a top-of-the-funnel customer or potential customer that builds value from day one in the form of very free-flowing with information. Someone can come to our store as opposed to some other competitors and say, what is a contractor going to charge me for a turnkey install, and where is that cost going? If you go to a company where they really are an installation company or an installation franchise, you can never get that information. And for good reason, because basically what you're saying to that company is, what's your profit? Because it matters to me. And for us, it's not really like that. If someone comes in and says, what would I get charged? We basically say, hey, if you were to go out and get a turnkey installation, you would get charged loosely this much money for your sub-base prep, X amount of dollars for your base rock and dumping fees. You would get charged about this much from us for the products. You would generally pay about this much for the labor, and that's going to put you at a range of $8 to $12 per square foot, all in, depending on the grass that you choose and some of the options that are part of the installation. If you're interested in a turnkey solution, we would gladly refer you to one of our regular customers, because probably half of what we sell is going to landscape contractors who are buying the products to install for one of their customers. So we'll put you in contact with one of them if you're interested. If you'd like to just buy the products, you can just buy the products. If you want to look at both options, we'll give you a referral for a landscape contractor, and then you can decide whether or not you want them to come and get the product and just offer a turnkey service, or if you then want to come here and grab the product, have it delivered to your house, and then have them just come install it. And here's how each of those options would look. And we can walk them through all of that in the store. Even trained on how to lay out a project. So carpet, you may say, I have 350 square foot in a room in my house. And then the carpet guy comes out and says, yeah, you have 350 square foot, but I need to purchase 430 square foot of carpet in order to get your 350. There's going to be some waste. Our team members are all trained to be able to walk a customer through that process. And never once in the entire process will they say, can we get you to sign an agreement with us? It's none of that. We simply provide the information, let them know what their options are, and we're smiling either way. If they stay there and make a transaction or ask us to schedule an appointment for them or just walk out and say it's not right for them, to us, we don't really train to focus on the result. We train to focus on the protocol because that's what we believe in, and that's worked for us.
Yeah, that's very different in the industry, and I'm sure that in your specific vertical that is extremely different. You get people that, at the big box retailers that are not as helpful. So when you guys are providing that level of service, I would suspect that is a welcome breath of fresh air. So to wrap up, what is the best way that people can learn more about your business? What's your website, and how can they get some of that information and so they can start educating themselves?
Sure. Yeah, all of that information actually is on the website, so that's the best place to start, and that's just www.purchasegreen.com, which is just all one word, purchase and green. The concept is for sustainable industries, and artificial grass is our first product that we're carrying, and so that's the best place to go. You can get quotes there. You can sign up for special offers there. You can look at the per square foot pricing of any of the products that you want there. You can see tools. You can download tool guides, material lists, training guides, do-it-yourself guides, putting green guides. There's a whole bunch of information there, including videos that you can watch. And there's documents in English and in Spanish, some of them in both. So and there's a knowledge base on the website. It's about 70 pages of what you would use even if you were decided you wanted to get into the installation industry and figure out what all you would need and how you would go about producing those jobs. So all of that information is there at purchasegreen.com, the website.
Purchasegreen.com. Excellent. Well, super appreciate your time, and it's great getting to know you and your unique business. Nick Vena with Purchase Green. Thank you so much for your time.
All right. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate the call.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.